I woke up this morning and I thought, I want scones. Don't know why I want scones, but I want scones. So scones are very similar to biscuits, except they're sweeter and richer. And so when you're making scones, you would use a flour, baking powder like we do with biscuits. We add cold butter, cut it in, but instead we're going to use whole milk, some heavy cream. We add some sugar to it, and then we're going to add some fruit. So I happen to have strawberries that needed to be eaten. So I cut up some strawberries, and because lemon and strawberries sounds really good to me, I'm going to use some lemon to give it that lemony flavor. So first I mix together the flour, sugar, baking powder, salt, baking soda, all in there kind of. And because I want to add lemon to it, I'm going to add the lemon zest. And the lemon zest is just this bright yellow stuff that's on the fruit. And I have this lovely little zester. And it has a nice, sharp, very small grating blade to it. So I'm just going to, do you see where I'm just taking? And the lemon zest has a lot of lemony flavor to it. So I'm going to take off all the zest off of John's lemon. John loves lemon, so he buys them all the time, and I am always using them because I see them and think, oh, that's what I want. So I remember when I was a kid, I was probably 8, 10 years old, and I read a book, and they were having tea and scones in the book, in the story. I don't have any idea what book I was reading, but I remember they were having scones. I had no idea what scones were. To see my lovely zest? I had no idea what scones were, and so I went down and asked my mom if she knew what scones were, and she did, but we didn't really know how to make them. So we went to our old cookbook that we had. I think it was a Betty Crocker cookbook, and looked up scones, and we made them. Had no idea what we were doing, and if I'm remembering correctly, they came out awful. Absolutely awful. They were dry, they were really hard, and we didn't like them at all, so I always thought I didn't like scones. And then when I got older and I actually went into a bakery and had a scone, realized that I had made them wrong, which is why I didn't like them. So I put most of the zest right in with the flour, and I'm going to save this zest because I want to put like a glaze on top of the scones, and that will add some great flavor to the glaze. So just like in biscuits, we have our flour mixture, and I've added the zest to it. I want to make sure there's no clumps of zest. And then we're going to add nice cold butter, which I've already cut into chunks because it makes it easier that way. And you can either use your fingers to make this, you can use a pastry cutter, you can use 2 forks. Since I have a pastry cutter, that's what I'm going to use. And probably should have used a bigger bowl, but too late now. So we're going to mix the flour into this butter, and we want the butter to be little tiny chunks. We don't want it all mixed in smoothly like we would a cookie batter or cake batter. We want it to have little pieces of nice cold butter still as part of it, because those are going to melt when we're baking them and give it a nice puffy airiness to the scone. It also helps with the moisture, keeping it nice and moist and tender. So you don't want to overdo your butter, so even if some of the butter is a little bigger than maybe what you want, because of what you're going to end up doing a little later, as in putting in our moisture and mixing it, it can be not quite as fine as you might think it should be. So once you have that all mixed in, another reason that scones are a little sweeter, more cookie-like than biscuits is you can add egg to it. Now, I've told you before, eggs need to be at room temperature. And of course, I forgot to get my egg out first thing this morning. So a quick trick to help your egg get to room temperature is use hot water just right out of your faucet. Let your egg sit in it for a little bit, and then it will warm up. Do not put it in boiling water because you will start to cook it. So I have my egg, which I am simply adding to my milk, and I have some heavy cream in there. I have whole milk. We want the richness of it. So I'm just beating the egg, getting it all mixed into that milk and cream. And then I'm going to add that to my flour mixture to get it. And if the egg was really at room temperature, I'd have less of that egg white sticking to that. So I'm going to just simply add my mixture to my flour mixture, and then I'm going to gently mix it together because I don't want those butter pieces to start getting blended in. I want to make sure that they stay in nice, small, tiny chunks. I think this is down enough for you guys to see. Probably should go there. There we go. So we're going to mix it until that egg and milk liquid, get the flour right where it needs to be. Sometimes you need to scrape it off a little to help. That's it. Messy cooking. Sometimes if it seems like it's not going to mix in, just keep working it a little because it will eventually moisten up. You just want to do it gently so you're not mushing that butter up too much. So you can tell that it didn't seem like it was going to come together, but now it most definitely is. Now you could, if you wanted to, is add a little bit of lemon juice, which, why not? Might as well. So to help with lemon, you want to take it and roll it on a surface, and that helps loosen up what's inside. So I need to go get a knife. Because I wasn't really planning to put lemon juice in it. And I cut it in half. And then I'm going to squeeze over my hand so that if there are any seeds, they'll go into my hand and not into my batter. So we'll add that lemon in there. Now, if I'd have been thinking, I would have added the lemon to the milk egg mixture at the very end, right before I put it in, because if you add it before that, then it would start to curdle the milk and actually make buttermilk, which would still be just as good. Okay, so now I want to add my strawberries. I don't want my strawberries to become all mushed up, so I'm actually going to use my hands to do this because it'll be easier and I won't mush them too much, but I need dryness, so I'm going to put some flour on my hands and all over my sheet. I'm going to dump it. Very forgiving dough. And I want to mix my strawberries in gently. It's okay if your strawberries break up a little. You want them to be bigger pieces because you don't want them to fall all in, because then if they're too small, they'll just break right up and then you'll just end with a big, probably still taste good, but you'll end up with a big strawberry red mess. So, don't want to add too much flour. You still want it to be moist, and I can still see my little butter pieces. And this is a big piece of strawberry that I probably should broke down, which I do now. And then we're going to pat it, just like we do the biscuits, into about an 8-inch circle. So this lovely little sheet that I have that I roll pie crust and cinnamon rolls and all that stuff out of has a lovely measuring aspect to it. So there is a 8-inch circle. So all I have to do is push until I've reached my circle and make it as even as possible. And then we're going to cut it into 8 pieces. So we'll get 8 wedges. But before I do that, I'm going to go wash my hands off